Welcome to today's conversation. As always, I'm very honored and excited to have you here with me for this conversation on what the heck is going on in the cryptocurrency markets. We, of course, have lots of big news to cover. I want to talk about, well, what the SEC has just done, a bit of a shock move by the SEC regarding Bitcoin ETF products. We also have some major deadlines coming up for Bitcoin ETFs. We have elected politicians imploring the SEC to actually do their frickin' jobs at some point. Other big news as well. Michael Saylor cannot help himself from buying Bitcoin. They bought more Bitcoin. I want to talk about where we are in the cycle as well in terms of, what the potential is moving forward and some other great ideas to share with you. And of course, we'll be answering your questions as well. So stick around until the end of the conversation here, where I'll field some questions from you guys. You guys always have the best stuff to talk about. So thank you for coming to the conversation today and joining for what should be a enlightening bit of crypto conversation. Of course, shout out to everybody joining here in the live conversation, whether on YouTube or on X. And of course, if you're joining this later on the Spotify or Apple podcast, if you want to listen in your car on the way to work or whatever, you can do that too. So let's go ahead and get into this by starting off with, well, perhaps one of the topics on everybody's minds. What's happening with the price of Bitcoin? Not a lot. Again, currently Bitcoin still maintaining above what I would hope would be a nice area of price support around $26,000. But remember, we did have that death cross just recently. The MACD is about to roll over into a bearish cross as well. Should be confirmed tomorrow if the current price action continues, mind you. Maybe we get the mega God candle today. Probably not. Now, look, there's a lot of stuff going on, whether it be for Bitcoin or more broadly in the macroeconomic scene. And it's really important as investors. See, a lot of people think, well, this is just, okay, volatility's down, price Bitcoin's down, and look at the macro stuff, interest rates are up, and all these other sort of things. This is important information to realize as an investor, and you can just dismiss all these things. Wow, it's just FUD in the market. What are you going to do? But you got to actually pay attention to what the indicators are telling us, what the technicals are actually showing, and not to say that everything's always going to work out this way. I can't predict the future, neither can you. But we do have a lot of indicators to allow us to say, hey, well, maybe these are likely outcomes, potential outcomes, whatever it might be. So I think it's really important to keep perspective on some of these things. So Bitcoin, not doing a lot. Technicals, not looking super amazing. I think for the cryptocurrency markets, we're going to continue to see a lot of just ranging accumulation. And that accumulation period, this pre-Bitcoin halving period that we find ourselves in, it's a period that's so typically just full of sadness and despair and all these sort of negative emotions, right? We don't have any real movement for our altcoins at this point. And yeah, there's things that pop off from time to time, but for the most part, not a lot's been happening. Things are pretty quiet. Volumes are down massively. And this is the period that we're in. And it's not FUD to point out the reality of what's currently happening. Things won't always be like this. In fact, these periods, in my mind, are periods of opportunity. I have been buying during this period. I'm sure a lot of you guys have as well. Because one day, things will turn around. This period, if you're even here listening to this conversation, I would say you're probably going to be quite ahead of the pack. Because in 18 months, whatever it might be, 24 months, who knows how long before the next market cycle peak. But when that comes, there's going to be a whole lot of people on your timeline saying, if only I had bought Bitcoin back in 2023 when it was $25,000, blah, 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 blah. I can already see it. You can see it too. Now, I wanted to share this with you as well. This is from Josh Rager. He said from the previous cycle bottom to the Bitcoin halving was just over 500 days. So that cycle bottom came in early December 2018 to the Bitcoin halving, 500 days, right? So from market bottom to Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin price currently sitting over 300 days since the bottom, assuming, of course, the FTX crash was the bottom, right? Meaning we have potential halving around 200 days out. that could put the 2024 halving near at a similar timeline post-cycle bottom, just over 500 days. Next 6 months should bring continual ranging with short-term trends to both the upside and the downside, with nice chance fireworks 2024, 2025. Yes. Yes, I think we're going to have a lot of ranging action between now and the Bitcoin halving. A Bitcoin ETF approval is the only thing that I'm seeing that's likely to really change that narrative in a big way. But I don't necessarily see that a Bitcoin ETF approval, especially if it comes in March, it's not necessarily going to send Bitcoin to all-time highs. And this is, I think, a fallacy that a lot of people in the market are going to believe, is that it's instantly going to result in super mega fireworks. Oh, definitely. There'll be a big candle on the day. Make no mistake about it. We are sitting in a situation, too, where it's so funny. A lot of people are still so pessimistic on the market. It's like, you guys realize BlackRock's going to get a Bitcoin ETF approved, right? They're going to bring $30 billion worth of cash into the markets and pump up the price of Bitcoin. MC's asking, what's shocking? We're going to get to the shocking news in a minute regarding the Bitcoin ETF. We're getting there. I just want to talk a little bit about the markets here for you first. Kind of let you guys know what's going on. Now, also here, I think very important is this right here, where we have the dollar index. This is the dollar index on the weekly, continuing its rise. Not great for risk assets when we see these dollar indexes rising with such strength. That has not been fantastic. We have just gone up over key areas of previous resistance. So unless we get a rejection here pretty soon, well, how many green weekly candles can you have for the dollar index? We shall see. Anyway, I'm not loving the dollar strength. Of course, dollar strength is bad for risk assets. It's bad for tech stocks. It's bad for a variety of different things, to be honest. Our magic internet money, not excluded, of course, from that. Things that is bad for conversation. Now, let's talk about what I think is rather shocking news, to be honest. And we can all have our own definitions of what's shocking, but I find this news to be very, very strange. See, the SEC, they just delayed a decision on the ARK Bitcoin spot ETF. Why? Now, them delaying a decision on a spot Bitcoin ETF is not in itself like such a game-changing, crazy thing to happen. Of course they do that. The question is why now? Because this decision was not actually due until November 11th. So this is like 6 weeks before they were even supposed to make a decision on that. So 6 weeks before, they're saying, we're going to delay it. What? This is very, very interesting, because why would the SEC even do such a thing? It doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. The SEC has been behaving very erratically. Of course, they've been losing in court a lot. They lost the Grayscale case. They lost the Ripple case. They're probably going to lose the Coinbase case. Binance has filed for a dismissal of the case. We'll see how that plays out, of course. But it's very strange behavior from the SEC here. Now, is this simply being done so that they can definitively clear the way for BlackRock to be first? But, then whenever the Bitcoin ETFs get approved, they're going to have to approve basically all of them at exactly the same time. Or are they just really trying to run this down to the last possible damn second, and they're not going to approve any Bitcoin ETFs until March next year? See, the thing is, the reason they keep delaying, they don't have any good reasons to deny them. And they know they don't have any good reasons to deny them. Maybe they're scrambling, trying to, but it's going to be the custody problem. It's going to be the custody problem. That's why we can have Bitcoin futures contracts at the CME and the CBOE. I'm not sure the CBOE even trades them anymore, but you can't have spot Bitcoin because Coinbase can't be trusted as a custodian for this Bitcoin. Even though we, approved them to be a publicly traded company running custodian services, we're the ones, the SEC, who did that. So their potential excuses are running short. They don't really have a leg to stand on anymore. They know they don't. So they're trying to delay. Now, why would they delay this one so early? I really don't have a good idea, but I feel like it's a bit of a shocking move by them to not even wait, to just say it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed. What game are they playing at here? I don't know. But one thing that is worth keeping an eye on are these two pieces of information right here. First, the next round of potential approvals. So we've seen, of course, that one being delayed today. But Our next line of approvals, we have the BlackRock and the Invesco and all these other ones coming up mid-October. So we're about 3 weeks out approximately from the SEC needing to either approve, deny, or delay. Now, guys, let's keep it real. I am completely expecting a delay here. Now, that is not shocking. What would be shocking in this situation would be if they approved it, actually. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to hold out my hopes here that they're actually going to approve any of these in October. Now, Mike Novogratz seems to think differently. We discussed this the other day. Mike Novogratz says, be ready for an October surprise. I mean, maybe they're really just like, no, it has to be BlackRock first. Maybe. But we will get it. It's only a question of when. I think out of spite, maybe just because the SEC has lost these cases. They know they have to approve it. They know that they're going to have to approve it one of these days, but they don't have to approve it until the final deadline. Maybe they really will run it down to the last possible minute. But if that's the case, January 10th is the next one after that, right? So that's when we see the Arc Bitcoin ETF. They come up first. So it goes January 10th, Arc Bitcoin, and then BlackRock, Bitwise, VanEck, et cetera, all those guys in mid-January. So are they just holding it back? Waiting for early next year? I don't know. The SEC is playing a silly game. And at this point, they're doing everything but protecting investors. I mean, what have they done to protect investors? They let all the worst frauds and ones that they were talking to as well. They let all the worst frauds do massive harm to investors, and they go after the most regulated, squeaky clean companies like Coinbase. It's an upside down world for the SEC. And here they are. This is probably one of the safest products that you could approve for the cryptocurrency markets for regular investors. It's a spot Bitcoin ETF, but you can't have a spot Bitcoin ETF. You can have a futures ETF, which is garbage. Now, this is also, I think, a very, very surprising move. And like, honestly, a bitch slap to the SEC to the extent that it is, it's a letter at the end of the day. It's not that big of a deal, but a bipartisan letter sent to Gary Gensler by GOP members, including the Majority Whip and a few other players, urging the SEC to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. Everybody sees it. It's not some grand mystery anymore. Everybody sees that it's obvious a spot Bitcoin ETF should be approved, except the head of the SEC. A lot of the SEC chairs disagree with Gary Gensler. Most of the public disagrees. All these major institutions, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, et cetera, they all disagree. They all think there should be a Bitcoin ETF. Your average investor wants a Bitcoin ETF product, but they won't give it to you, which is ridiculous. It'll come at some point, but unfortunately, in the USA, you guys are dealing with a very prickly, let's say, regulatory body. And they want to drag the process out as long as possible for no reason. They have no reason to continue dragging out the process. They lost the court case against Grayscale. They should have just went out the next day and said, guys, the courts said one thing. We're going to go with the courts. We follow the law here. We follow the rules, and boom. Nope, didn't do it. They're going to try to be petty now. Anyway, before we get into the rest of the news beyond the Bitcoin ETF, I just want to let you know real quick about the Wealth Mastery newsletter report. This is the best damn newsletter in crypto. Obviously, I'm biased because it's my newsletter, but it's a damn great newsletter. Every single issue, just super jam-packed, full of value. It's great. We spend about 40 hours a week, my team and I, putting this newsletter together. And you can read it 3 times a week in your inbox. It takes about 10 minutes to read. Gets you caught up on all the big news happening in crypto. We also have altcoin alpha, DeFi alpha, technical analysis, airdrop alpha, and much, much more. Check it out. Links in the description where you can sign up and join our 75,000 weekly readers. Thank you. Now, let's get into the rest of the news. Our boy Michael Saylor is back. He's back. He bought more Bitcoin, man. As CRG says, in about 12 months, Saylor is going to look like a genius. I agree. So they bought 5,445 more Bitcoin for $147 million. MicroStrategy now holds 158,245 Bitcoin at an average price of $29,582. So they are underwater. They are underwater on their Bitcoin bet right now. But they won't be for long. This incredible conviction by Michael Saylor will be repaid extremely well one day. He's just stacking sat. Well, he's not. He's stacking Bitcoin by the thousands. We stack sats. He stacks Bitcoin by the 100 million at a time. I am of the firm belief that there is not one single chair left at the MicroStrategy offices. No desks, nothing. Just MicroStrategy office now. Just a bunch of dudes sitting on the carpet. There's not even a carpet anymore. They sold the carpet. Just a bunch of dudes sitting on the floor with their laptops that they have to bring from home because, company sold all the company laptops. That's it. That's it, man. It's all good. It's all been used to buy Bitcoin, every last penny. Holy cow. Anyway, this is a wild bet for Michael Saylor. And obviously, he has created an incredible story around the corporate adoption of Bitcoin. And they now hold around 0.85% of the total supply of Bitcoin. They're so far ahead of all the other corporations. And now that we have the FASB approving more favorable accounting rules for Bitcoin held by companies, I'm just waiting. I mean, yeah, we got Tesla and Square also bought Bitcoin. But when are the big boys going to do it? Come on, Tim Cook. Let's get Apple to buy some Bitcoin, man. We should all start, DMing Tim Cook. Hey, Tim, buy some Bitcoin, man. Come on. What's Apple have? Like $200 billion in cash or something just sitting there? Like, it's a melting ice cube of cash that they're sitting on. Just throw 5 billion in the Bitcoin, guys. You don't have to buy all the Bitcoin. Just throw 5 billion. What's 5 billion to Apple? Nothing. It's nothing. That's what. Come on, Apple. Come on. It'll come one of these days. Michael Saylor is ahead of his time here on this issue. Now, I want to share this sentiment here from the Crypto Skull. This is the reason your bag is not moving or bleeding. There's simply no volume, and this is alpha. Many are quitting or simply not interested in crypto anymore, but knowing the fact that it's not going to stay like this is the imminent future will breed new crypto millionaires. It's not hopium. It's not honey talk. Whenever there's a crash or a bear market, there's always opportunity. The only question is, are you emotionally capable of enduring this phase? I think it's a very good point because it happens every cycle. People quit. They leave. A lot of content creators have quit. A lot of people just disappeared. A lot of investors have quit. I understand. It's hard. It's hard showing up every day when everybody's so negative and there's so much toxicity on the timeline. Everybody's fighting with each other and everybody's pissed off and losing money. And you got to drown all that crap out, man. It's just noise. It's just noise. The reality is that the most money in markets is made not when you sell. Well, you got to sell, obviously, or you don't make anything. But Warren Buffett, I think, who said that you make your money when you buy. You make your money when you buy. And that's something I feel like a lot of people don't understand because a lot of people will come in late cycle. They will buy high. They will sell low. This is what the majority of investors will do. It's how the markets work. I don't make the rules. This is just how it is. I wish we could save people from making those mistakes. But if those people didn't come in to make the mistakes, then the people who are here now wouldn't be able to cash out. Just how it is. But if you get good entries, then you can actually make money. If you buy the top, you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money. But if you buy when prices are suppressed, when people aren't paying attention, when no one cares about it anymore, when Bitcoin's dead, crypto's dead, all of the on-chain data, except for trading volume, which does say that the markets are dead right now, but you see continual accumulation, lots of users on chain still, lots of developer interest, lots of venture capital interest, increasing regulatory friendliness globally, Bitcoin ETFs are coming, all this kind of stuff, big picture, things are going to be fine. We're just going through this lull period. And how long that lasts, I don't know. As Buffett also said, the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So remain solvent at all costs because the day will come when it's not like this and be good times. But the people who make the money during those quote unquote good times, those good times almost make me paranoid, to be honest. But The people who make money during those good times are the people who made money when they bought, because they bought at the right time, and buying at the right time is how the money's made. It's just that simple. You got to buy low, sell high. It's not complicated, but we overcomplicate it. Classic humans. And I know, as Crypto Quant points out here, spot trading volume is at a 6-year low. Incredible. Huge bear vibes on that. But we'll be back. All right, let's share this story here. This story is crazy. So this is about Chase, JP Morgan Chase Bank in the UK specifically, not internationally, but in the UK. So you guys in the USA and stuff like that, apparently still fine. But in the UK, they have said from October 16, 2023, if we think that you're making a payment related to cryptocurrency assets, we will decline it. If you'd still like to invest in crypto assets, you can try using a different bank or provider instead, but please be cautious as you may not be able to get the money back if the payment ends up being related to a fraud or a scam. They said we made this decision because fraudsters are increasingly using crypto assets to steal large sums of money from people. You know, it's funny, of course, because they're doing that in the UK, and London is kind of known as the money laundering capital of the world. And JP Morgan knows all about that. Because they have been caught more times than we can probably count, manipulating markets, running money for drug lords and terrorists, and what was up with that boat full of cocaine? All these it's JP Morgan, guys. I mean, come on. But if you're in the UK and you're a JP Morgan bank user, I guess you got to get a new bank account, man, because why would you keep banking with them after that? After seeing that, why would you keep banking with them? What's the point? These guys, they're not going to win. I just, it's so backward. I don't even see the rationale behind it, except just doing dumb stuff. Anyway, there you go. Stupid JP Morgan Chase Bank. What are you going to do? Not that they're unique either. We've seen lots of other banks do that too. Plenty of banks still do allow you to buy cryptocurrency, receive payments from exchanges and stuff like this, but the future's on chain, man. Future's on chain. They can't stop it. Smart companies are actually adopting this technology. Jack Dorsey's Cash App, boom, early Bitcoin adopter company. PayPal, boom, early Bitcoin adopter company. The X app, when it comes, I believe will have Bitcoin, Dogecoin, all this kind of stuff. It's coming. The Grab app, it's it's Uber for Southeast Asia, 180 million users. They're letting people get crypto in their apps, man. Similar one in Brazil with like 25 million users. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it's happening. Deutsche Bank allowing for cryptocurrency custody. And other banks, on and on and on. We could stand here for 20 or 30 minutes listing off all the different organizations and stuff that are adopting cryptocurrency. So this is a move that's out of step with the times, if I'm being honest. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing here, and that's about altcoins. I like this one from the Scalping Pro. This is a very interesting chart that he shared here. Crypto RSI heat map shows that the majority of altcoins are in the weekly oversold zone. Now, very, very clear. Just because an altcoin is oversold doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good buy. We could see a lot of altcoins still drop another 99% because they're done. They're not going to come back. Now, coins like Chainlink and Solana, whatever, those have great potential, obviously, moving forward. But some of these do not. Some of these just honestly do not. And they're just going to keep going down, and they're never coming back for whatever reason it might be. It's how it is with altcoins, man. 9 out of 10 fail. Another 9 out of 10 don't do very much. And 1 out of 100 basically do something. Anyway, that's pretty interesting regardless. It means the majority of the altcoin market is oversold. When we are in oversold conditions, usually it's a good buying position. Not saying to run out and buy crypto altcoins right now, just saying what that is typically indicating when we see these oversold RSI characteristics for the markets. Again, some of these will just go to zero. Some of these might come back in a very big way, though. So, take that information with a grain of salt. Now I want to share this one because this is really interesting. It really talks about the potential of markets. The potential of markets. This is from the Berenstein Group. So they basically said crypto funds could jump from 50 billion in assets to $650 billion in assets over the next 5 years. Now, Berenstein, they like crypto, those guys. They've been into it for a little while here. But that's pretty big number, $600 billion. And you have to understand that $600 billion over the next 5 years. So we're talking about into the next market cycle, right? But you have to understand, $600 billion doesn't just raise the market cap by $600 billion. It doesn't. You think about Bitcoin, for example. If you tried to buy $600 billion worth of Bitcoin, what would that do? Well, that would buy all the Bitcoins, literally all of the Bitcoins, because the current market cap of Bitcoin is $500 billion. So that would buy all of Satoshi's coins, which aren't on the market for sale. It would buy the 4 million lost coins. It would buy the 75% of coins that are in the hands of long-term holders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of coins that aren't even available for buying. $600 billion coming to the market, if their research is correct, is insanity. What? That's nuts. That's 60% of the current cryptocurrency market just by direct comparison. But again, you can't make a direct comparison, because let's say that $600 billion all just wanted to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, there's only 14 million Ethereum on exchanges. It's not worth very much. And there's only 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges. Let's just say that. So in total, if we had probably about $50 billion, maybe say 60 or 70, just to be, let's say 60, 10% of that money, $60 billion basically buy at the current prices every single Bitcoin and every single Ethereum currently sitting on exchanges. Obviously, it doesn't work like that, because once you start, mass buying up these different tokens, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the prices start going up because people start wanting to sell for higher prices, et cetera, et cetera. But there is an outsized impact that much money has on the market. So this is from crypto funds that could be coming in. Bitcoin ETFs are going to come to hundreds of millions of new buyers from PayPal and X and Grab and all these other players. Are you seeing the big picture? This boring period in the market will not last forever. It won't. It just won't. It never does. And I'm not saying to run out and go crazy and buy a bunch of stuff. Never financial advice on this channel, obviously. Just me sharing my opinions on stuff. But the thing is that when the market conditions change, and they will, a lot of people will be too slow to adapt. And I know there's so much to be afraid of right now. And we've been covering a lot of this stuff because you have to know about these things if you're an investor in the space right now. It's very important to keep track of what's going on at the Fed, what's going on with the unemployment rate, and the defaults on loans and all these sort of things, and corporate refinancing. It's all a big picture. You got to pay attention to a lot of stuff as an investor. You can't just go out and just ape into stuff and hope it all goes up. Now, look, long term, dollar cost averaging the Bitcoin, you're gonna be fine. Right? You get to take advantage of this. If you're here now, you get to front run that $600 billion of demand from funds over the next 5 years. If you're here now, you get to front run BlackRock. Well, I'm sure BlackRock's already been accumulating in their private Bitcoin fund. Remember, they don't have only a Bitcoin ETF. They also have a private Bitcoin fund, but I digress. You're front running the vast majority of people if you're here right now paying attention, including a lot of people who are here in 2021 and who are going to come back in 2024, 2025 at the next peak of the bull market, and they're going to buy high and sell low. We thank you for your sacrifice. Last one here I want to share with you, and then we're going to open up for your questions. So I like this post right here. This is a very interesting one. This is from Ken over at Electric Capital. They do some fantastic reports in general for the cryptocurrency space. I want to read it out here for you. We are at peak ignorance of crypto. Inspired by a question I was asked recently, I drew this picture. It's my mental model comparing how crypto progresses through time to how people outside crypto perceive that progress. So the green line here is what crypto actually can do. It goes up steadily over time. But then there's what everyone thinks crypto can do, and that goes through much more volatile processes related to the hype cycles that we see. So, for example, we had peak bull mania in terms of what people think crypto can do. New paradigm of money. Crypto is going to solve all of our problems. Metaverse is coming tomorrow, and it's going to be massive. Of course, Metaverse is going to take years and years to develop, but this is the 2021 vibes. and then peak bear, which is kind of where we are now to an extent, although I really think we're kind of in the earliest stages of the bull market, but that's kind of unrecognizable between how the end of the bear, late stage bear or early stage bull, it's kind of the same stuff. And there's a lot of overlap, and it's not exact to say exactly where it starts, exactly where it finishes. They overlap a lot, and there's a lot of uncertainty and fear in either of those times. But if we're at peak bear right now, but we're actually seeing while we're at peak bear, the utility for what crypto can actually do continues to increase. And we're seeing that all the time. We're seeing better games coming on board. We're seeing real world assets being brought into the crypto space. We're seeing a dramatic increase of all kinds of products being launched in this space on chain, and new partnerships and new big players coming in, and all this kind of stuff. All this kind of stuff. Huge things happening. So it's all very positive, I think. So as he goes on here, the green line is our cumulative progress as we build. The red line is how the rest of the world perceives what crypto is capable of. When the red line is far above the green, we are in peak bull expectations, far outpace what's actually possible. And the red line is far below the green, we're in peak bear sentiment. This is when everyone says crypto is dead. Ironically, the green line accelerates in these moments because builders are still building. Absolutely true. I mean, look at what some of the stuff that's happened over the last few months. You know, some of the stuff happening on Avalanche, for example, with their subnets, and they have huge games coming like off the grid. Super Oracles, I just did a space with them yesterday. I'm an investor in them, and what's what I just off the grid as well. Of course, can always see my full disclosure and risk statement, everything that I have in my portfolio, including all my venture investments, using the link down below in the description. Anyway, the builders are here. Like Super Oracle is talking to those guys, like, man, you guys have been just going crazy in terms of building. You've been putting in the work during the bear market. Right? I've been invested in those guys for 2 years. They've just been building nonstop through the bear market. Market up, market down. They don't care. They're building. And it's very, very true. The capabilities of crypto are increasing all the time, even though the sentiment is the opposite right now. This guy continues. Best I can tell, we're in a peak bear moment. Most of the world thinks Ethereum is still melting the planet. Most people have never heard of a layer 2. True. They don't know that teams are rebuilding on Solana despite the FTX mess. People might have heard the name of FTX. They didn't really know what Solana was, or they ever knew at all. They have no idea. We've made huge leaps in ZK technology. They're unaware of DeFi, NFTs, real world assets, stablecoins, all these sort of things. And look, a lot of this stuff people will always be unaware of until it gets abstracted away. Until it gets to the point where you download an app, you log into the app, you put money in it from PayPal or wherever else, and you can then just get yields or whatever with all the crypto stuff happening in the background. They don't realize that we're making progress on the regulatory front in the USA and around the world. They can't see that the tech was just a bunch of vaporware a few years ago, but now we're seeing stuff shipping in production, so on, so forth. Yeah. He says we need to try and close the gap between perception and reality instead of amplifying it. The greater the overshoot in the bull, the greater the undershoot in the bear. It's an interesting sentiment, one that I agree with. And I think it makes a very interesting point about where we are technologically, because technologically we are increasing all the time, and that's super awesome. And of course, where we are sentiment-wise, because the two are not actually lining up. Technologically, we've never been stronger in the crypto space. Sentiment-wise, we've been here before, and we'll be here again in a few years' time after the next bull cycle. Okay, now let's do some questions. Time to open up the floor. What do you guys want to talk about? We'll stick around for 10, 15 minutes here, answer a few of your questions. So let me know what you guys want to talk about today. Always super, of course, just really privileged, honestly. I feel it's awesome to get to talk to you guys. We have almost 1,000 people on the stream right now. It's fantastic. I love you guys. You're super awesome. So thank you for joining this conversation today. Always excited to see you guys here, to have a chance to talk crypto with you. And I know the first part of these streams always a bit of a monologue, me covering the big news, my thoughts on stuff like that. But I love getting to hear what you guys are thinking in terms of what's going on, what's in your minds right now. Let's have a look. Nick Weaver, has Bitcoin outperformed the history books so far in September? Well, we still have a few days for September to finish, and I don't think in any significant way, no. Let me just see, what's our current monthly candle looking like here for Bitcoin? Let's just put that up on the screen so all you guys can see. Where are we at here? Where are we at here for this? I don't think we've seen anything grandiose happening in terms of the price. Currently, we are up 1% for the month. So no, we have not. In fact, we have basically performed straight on for what you'd expect for September. Now, it could still turn red by the end of the month by like a couple percent. I don't see we're going to drop 50% by the end of the month or something like that. Standard September, nothing happening. Terrible volumes, low action, nothing crazy going on. So pretty standard September, actually. Maybe October, November, December will be a standard Q4. If so, hey, that should be exciting. Let's see if macro can not sabotage the party and ruin our fun. Okay, where are we at here? Anthony, when are you coming over to Australia? I'll buy you a beer. I always think apparently there's a crypto conference coming up in November, but unfortunately it conflicts with something I'm already doing. But I was my buddy told me about it. I was like, oh, that actually sounds like fun. It's close. I can get there pretty easily, but not this time, unfortunately. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I won't have a conflicting thing with that. Luke, what's up, buddy? Watched you grow significantly in the last years. Thank you very much. It's a crazy journey making content. It's so weird. I feel like today versus like 2017 when I started making videos, dramatically different. I'm trying to get better all the time for you guys. It's not always a clear and linear process, and trying to get better all the time, making content and bringing you guys a more professional, value-packed conversation around what's happening in these cryptocurrency markets. Okay, where are we up to next year? Oh boy, I'll address this very, very quickly. What are your thoughts on the BitBoy crypto saga? My thought in particular is that who's got time for the drama? Look, I wish Ben all the best. I don't know what's going on, but one thing I know for sure is that if you're getting distracted by all the drama, and there's a lot of drama and toxicity right now in the cryptocurrency space, if you're getting distracted by that stuff, you're doing yourself a disservice because, as we just mentioned, the tech's never been better. There's never been more opportunities in this cryptocurrency space. And if you're spending your days arguing with people online or engaging with what's the latest drama with whoever person, why, guys? You don't need to. You don't need to do that. So don't worry about it. Okay, where are we up to? Eric Silva, what's your favorite crypto wallet as of today? Well, personally, I'm still a big fan of Ledger. I know what they did, and I know their terrible rollout in terms of the marketing around their sort of recovery service, but I still like my Ledgers personally. You guys can decide if that's something that's still good for you or not. Trezor, still a nice wallet, but I don't know. I just like using Ledger for whatever reason. It's, maybe I'm just a creature of habit and need to change myself up a little bit. Okay, where are we up to next? Steezy Steve, do you think the Fed will keep interest rates high if unemployment increases, but inflation is still sticky? I have no idea what the Fed's going to do, but my gut feeling would say, yeah, they'll probably keep interest rates high if unemployment starts increasing, but inflation is still sticky because inflation right now is really their big concern. And they are willing to, as Jerome Powell has said himself, they're willing to cause pain in order to make that happen. And you guys know my line about this is that basically in order to fix the inflation problem, their stated goal of how they want to do that, you're going to lose your job. They're okay with high unemployment. You're going to lose your house, your kids, your dog, and end up under a bridge as a fentanyl zombie. Thanks, Jerome Powell. So yeah, my guess would be that they're not going to be as concerned about the unemployment rate unless it gets like really, really bad, and then they might have to do something. But I think they're okay with absorbing a few more percentage of unemployment. So watch out. Jed, I like this question because it's one of those fun questions that that can really get you thinking. Do you think the SEC is trying to keep the price low where the big boys can stuff their bags? There's a few different thoughts on this process. Maybe. I mean, we must remember that Gary Gensler is Goldman Sachs alumni. He is Wall Street through and through, baby. So when he gets those phone calls, he knows what to do. Right? He's going to want his golden parachute when he's done being the SEC regulator. He's going to want to go back to Wall Street and get his $250,000 for a half hour speaking gigs. It's how it works. It's how it works, guys. You know, it's how it works. So there's that. I would not be surprised. Obviously, we have no evidence for that, but I would not be surprised. Oh, there is this theory. This is a funny one that actually Gary Gensler's a hardcore Bitcoin maximalist. This is why he thinks all altcoins are securities. Bitcoin's fine. This is why he's delaying the Bitcoin ETFs, because he wants to give regular people as much chance as possible to buy the only cryptocurrency asset that he thinks is valid, which is Bitcoin, before the big boys do. Crazy idea. I would not be blown away if that were to be the case, but I don't think Gary's any kind of hero, to be honest. So let's not give more credit than his due. Okay, let's find the next question here for us. Lovely soccer. Is Litecoin good to buy? Now, look, to be clear, I cannot tell you what to buy or sell. That's on you. But I can share my thoughts about Litecoin. You know, I used to really like Litecoin back in 2017, 2018. Litecoin is my boy. Digital silver, yeah. Look, Litecoin will have its moment in the next cycle. I don't expect anything super dramatic out of it, but Litecoin will be worth more than it is today at some point in the next cycle. But I don't get excited about Litecoin these days. I feel like there's so many dramatically, but like the what is the use case of Litecoin anymore? And look, I don't, guys. You know, I love all your coins, right? If you want to make money off of Litecoin, you're gonna make money off Litecoin. Nail it, guys. I love it. I celebrate anybody making money in this space. So if Litecoin's the way that you're gonna make money, go for it. But I just look at Litecoin and I think, what's the point anymore? Because if we want the most secure possible cryptocurrency asset, well, that's Bitcoin. If we want cheap Bitcoin transactions, that's the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Don't necessarily need Litecoin in that situation. You want to transfer value? Well, yeah, okay. Yes, it's cheap to transfer value on Litecoin. But why not just use stable coins on a layer 2? Costs basically nothing to do. So I'm struggling to see the really strong value proposition. I know it's a solid proof of work coin and it is the master of its algorithm, all this stuff. So I'm not completely discounting Litecoin. Just as an investment for me, it's not something I'd personally be going after. So okay, where are we up to next? ITC Midnight. Lark, Bitcoin to at least 42K in March 2024. Do you agree? If we get a spot Bitcoin ETF, then I could see it. In fact, 48K, as I've said, is something that I could see happening before the Bitcoin halving, especially if we get the Bitcoin ETF approved before then. So that would be something to watch out for. Me, man, imagine the sort of the narrative, the runway, the excitement, the hype. That'd be like March, Bitcoin ETF approved. They wait until the last possible day and then they do it. Then Bitcoin halving a month later, 45 days after the Bitcoin ETFs are approved, they start actually trading on the market. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Markets go crazy. 2024 could be a very exciting year. Not saying that's how it's definitely going to play out, but I can see it. Okay. Barry Harris says, well, that's actually a good question, Barry. Why do you all assume that the SEC will ultimately approve any ETFs? Can't their final decision next year still be a no? Yes, that's true. That's true. That's a good point, Barry. And we're always looking at the optimistic position. They could still just say ultimately no, but that's not the end of the story. They could say no, and then all those companies are going to turn around and sue them and say, well, you have absolutely no reason to tell us no. You have no good foundations for denying this. See, if they deny the ETFs, they can't just do it capriciously, which they've been behaving capriciously. In fact, the courts actually said that in the Grayscale suit. They need a good reason, and they've run out of good reasons to say no. And if they don't have a reason to say no, then they got to do something. And if they don't do something and are still acting in bad faith towards the markets, then those companies will all turn around and take them to court. You don't want to tell BlackRock no. That's something I feel like a lesson for major financial players. Where are we up to next? Bert, look forward to your knowledge daily, Lark. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bert. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all you guys joining on the stream. This is an amazing stream. Lots of fun here. So thank you so much for coming out and bringing these great questions without a doubt. His 905 Airsoft says his MIT talk says different, talking about Gary Goldman. Yeah, he may as well be Gary Goldman. Gary from Goldman. Yep. Thoughts on Chainlink, my new favorite bag. I have actually currently finished packing my Chainlink bag. I got a big fat stack of Linkies, and I'm going to be holding them for hopefully at least a 10x. I mean, if we can get a 20x out of Chainlink next cycle, not financial advice. I don't know what the price is going to be, but that's my hope for my bag, of course, that we could see a 10 to 20x on Chainlink next cycle at the peak. Of course, you might not have a lot of time to sell at those kind of prices, but yeah, I think definitely Chainlink has got great opportunities moving forward. Don't have an opinion on Render, but very excited about Chainlink and CCIP and everything they're doing. I've actually got a more in-depth video coming in the next few days on why I bought Chainlink. Now, look, if Chainlink has a massive sell-off and I don't know, we see some very, very juicy low prices, I would probably add some more to my Chainlink bag. But for the moment, I'm done stacking Chainlink. Got a nice fat bag, and I'll probably be chilling on that. Okay. DaVinci J15. Joshua says that DaVinci J15 thinks Ethereum's heading to 20K this new bull market cycle. I mean, it's certainly possible, especially if we get if we get the Ethereum spot ETFs, if we get a really strong burn coming in, more money into the staking contract, we could see a supply squeeze that could see prices reach that high for probably a very short amount of time. I would not get wedded to any particular price number. I would look at market conditions more than anything. I think that's the real factor we need to look at because, I mean, let's think of this. You're looking at Ethereum and thinking, man, it's going to go to 20K because, you know, DaVinci says it's going to go 20K. No, not throwing shade on DaVinci here. He might be right. And I like DaVinci. He's definitely an OG in the space, right? But don't get wedded to a certain price prediction because you might see Ethereum get up to like 17K and say, well, I'm going to wait till 20K like a genius. And then it doesn't go to 20K. And then it goes from 17K down to 3K. Welcome to the next bear market. So watch for conditions, watch for hype, watch for sentiment, watch for that old friend calling you that you knew 20 years ago in college. Like, hey, man, I saw on Facebook, you're into Bitcoin. Should I buy some Ethereum right now at $17,000? That's when you sell. Okay, we're up to. We're going to do one or two more questions here for you guys, and then we'll finish up for today. Shout out to Zeus from Las Vegas. Thanks for the nice comments, man. Appreciate it. M. Hannon, what's the biggest purchase that you made from your crypto profits in the past cycle? Lambo? No, I don't know. Lamborghini would not go up and down my ramp at my house. I don't know where I'd put it. I would like to drive a Lambo one day. I've never driven a Lamborghini, but like in Dubai, they have those race tracks where you can go and rent supercars and stuff like that and drive around for a couple hours. That would probably be a lot of fun. I drive a Tesla Model Y. It's a very practical family car. Not sure my car seats are going to fit in the Lamborghini. But one of the biggest purchases I probably made was second passports for the family. So that's a significant investment of money, and hopefully something that it'll be a good plan B for us if shit ever hits the fan. So that's probably one of the big ones. Interesting question. All right, Joshua. Okay, good question. What are the chances we don't have a bull run? I've never been through a cycle. I've been packing my bags, but I'm scared. I mean, here's one thing. There will always be another bull run. The only question is how long it's going to take. That's the only question. Maybe something goes insane tomorrow. We have a new Great Depression and it's going to be 10 years. You always have to, at least for one moment, think about the worst possible scenario. But there will always be new market cycles. You're not going to stop innovation. You're not going to stop technology. You're not going to stop people betting on the future of innovation by investing in it. You're not going to stop human greed. Markets go through cycles because we are the factor in markets that never really changes. We have similar emotional patterns. We get overly greedy at the tops. We get overly fearful at the bottoms, et cetera, et cetera. There will definitely be another cycle. The only question is when. And of course, if you can remain solvent until that happens. Okay. Okay, one or two more, and then we're seriously going to finish up. All right. Here we go. Oh, that's a good. Thanks for the super chat. Three diglets. Do you think that ape is something to keep an eye on with Bored Apes being a legit contender in the metaverse space? I think definitely it's something to keep an eye on. Now, I haven't been keeping a super close eye on it, and you can't watch all the coins all the time, right? But obviously, the Bored Apes did manage last cycle to really have a cultural moment. And if they get a good metaverse going, takes a long time to build that. Not an overnight thing by any means. We're talking, years of development and stuff here. If they can really bring in users and get people very excited, then we can see some very interesting things happen for that, like happened with Sandbox and others, right? A lot of competition out there in the metaverse space, and it's uncertain if Bored Ape and the Ape Coin and all that stuff will manage to recapture hearts and minds next cycle. But if they can, watch out. Okay. Joshua says, so basically the key to the bull run is when the U.S. starts printing money. Thought the U.S. wasn't such a big deal. Thought it was worldwide. One of the things with the U.S. printing money, and it's not just the USA print, it's about money printing in general. You see, one of the reasons why we had any sort of market rally, it can actually be largely attributed to China. You see, back in October, China started printing money. Markets bottomed basically 2 weeks after they started printing money. And then we saw, of course, a very bullish first half of the year. China has been slowing down a bit recently. There's been more concerns and fears of what's happening in China economically. Bank of Japan also is printing. The Europeans and the Americans have not been. Once that turns around, and it will, then that'll bring a lot more liquidity into the market. You need global liquidity to rise. One central bank alone does have massive impact. All of them working together, as they tend to usually do, but not always, really can juice up markets a lot. We need more money to flow in general, not just from one central bank necessarily, but definitely the U.S. Federal Reserve is a very important part of the equation when it comes to global liquidity, simply due to the U.S. dollar's reserve status in the world. So U.S. markets and what happens domestically with altcoins and stuff like that, yeah, not such a big deal, because that's, crypto is a worldwide movement. We're seeing most of the development stuff happening outside of the USA. The thing is, though, is that when it comes to broad liquidity, really macro stuff like stock markets, how those move, all this. Remember, crypto is only $1 trillion market cap asset class. The entire thing. We are 1/3 of an apple. It's not a big deal yet. We're niche players. If you're one of the 1,000 people here listening to this conversation right now, like, we are like ahead of the curve. You are early, especially for the next cycle. Okay, last one. Then I swear we're finishing up. Okay, let's see where we're at. Oh my gosh. All right. Last one here for you guys. What do we got? Tell me your secrets, says Abdul. Produce the Gain says, the other question is how long and how high the bull run will be. We could get a bull run, but only up to 55,000. We're not promised new highs in a new bull run. That's true. We're not promised new highs in a new bull run. Although my guess is that we're going to get them. My target is 150 to potentially 180K. Again, I'm not wedded to that number. I'm more watching market conditions, but as a number, that's a number I like to throw around. But yeah, this is the thing. You can have very, very bullish market conditions and not have new highs necessarily, but we will have new highs. So that's not such a concern, to be honest. Okay, I think we're going to finish up there for today. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. It has been an awesome stream. I appreciate all your questions. I appreciate everybody coming out and joining the conversation, and I will see you next time.